you don't know why you roll to the right side after Shavasana, right? Unless you're really curious and you looked it up. And even then you might get differing ideas, right? So why do we roll to the right after Shavasana? Well, it's called a pradakshina. So a pradakshina is a symbolic gesture of devotion on the one hand. So a pradakshina is a symbolic gesture, and what you're symbolizing in that gesture when you roll to the right is that it is in your heart and devotion to align to nature. Now, why would that indicate that? Well, in most of India, the sun moves across the horizon, like India is above the equator. So do our friends in Australia roll to the left? I don't know, I haven't been. But traditionally, you roll to the right because that's how the sun, it appears that the sun moves across the sky in that particular way. So it's symbolic. Now there are also reasons, and people will say all sorts of different reasons, but there is the right side of your body is the more active. It's considered the masculine side of the body, the more fire, the sun side of the body. And the left side of your body is the lunar side of your body, and the more sacred feminine side of the body. And so sometimes you might read or hear, well, we roll to the sun side, the right side, in that way. So here's an interesting tidbit, is that it's better to sleep on your right side, where the left side, the lunar side, if you sleep on your side, the lunar side is the one that is open and free.
Also because of the heart.
Yeah, and the heart's a little bit over to the left, right? So, correct, I shouldn't say that. Now, if you ever have digestive problems or a stomach ache, don't lie on your right side, lie on your left side. Then the fire side of the body can start activating the digestion and all those things. So it's sort of funny, like these little things. So we roll to the right to indicate our desire to move in accordance with nature, to move sun-wise, as it were, right? And this is something that we just like, we come to class and then the teacher says roll to the right, and we roll to the right for 20 years and we don't ever really know exactly why. So now at least we know, right? Very first class, some people say bring your hands into prayer position. And the name of the mudra is Anjali, and it's named after a character, a great mythological character of yoga, Anjali. And Anjali was a very devoted woman. And she was devoted in that she desperately wanted to have a child. And every day she would create ritual towards that. So every day she would go and gather flowers outside of her meager hut and string them together as a garland and walk down to the river and place the garland into the river and say her prayers and do her oblations in the hopes that one day a child would come. And as in all good mythological stories, tens of thousands of years go by. And every day she's doing her devotions, So in one way, it's like a pradakshina. She's doing ritual, and she goes every day, rain or shine, monsoon season, dusty season, always. And she never gives up. And then one day she goes down and she places it, and she takes the garland and she places it into the river. And as she's placing it into the river and the current comes past, she feels something swim into her hands. And she draws her hands up out of the water, and there, right in the palm of her hands, is a little snake. And she looks at it and she says, "Oh, my son." And she very lovingly closes her hands and draws to her heart, making sure not to squish her newly found child. And so the Sanskrit word for hands or feet the word pot, and Anjali, the hands of Anjali. And so her son becomes Patanjali, and he's held in the devoted hands before the heart in Anjali mudra. And so this is how, this is where this comes from, the story of where it comes from. So I'm going to teach you how to grow the lotus. I learned this from my teacher, Dr. Douglas Brooks. Together, and then the baby fingers, and then your ring finger, I'm sorry, the index finger, and then your ring finger, and finally your third finger. When you look down in there, you should see a little bit of a K. And that's where it's held sweetly, as if the most precious thing to you, you bring it right before your gaze and right before your heart.